It's that time again where summer is coming to an end, kids are going back to school, and remote workers are planning their next getaway because, well...
But winter is coming.
But things are looking a little bit different this year. Popular digital nomad spots like Thailand and Vietnam are closed for tourism. Another popular digital nomad destination, Bali, announced that they would be opening up to international tourism as of September. After a lot of back and forth and confusion, it now looks like Bali will be following along with much of Southeast Asia and not opening back up to international visitors until 2021. Whether you've worked remotely for several years, or if you're a new remote worker due to the COVID pandemic, if that's the case, please let me know in the comments. I'm very curious how many people are in this situation. You're probably wondering what your options are to live and work from somewhere other than your home this winter. The Caribbean island Barbados may not be top of your list as a remote work destination, but it may be one of the only countries that you can realistically travel to and work from over the next year. It's definitely going to be one of the only countries you can legally do so, now that they've introduced their new Barbados Welcome Stamp. In today's video, I'll be going over what this new visa is and all the details you need to know, from who it's for, how to apply, and how much it costs. As of August, Barbados officially launched its new Barbados Welcome Stamp, which is a 12-month remote work visa that allows foreigners to stay in Barbados for up to 1 year while continuing to work remotely. It's hoped that this initiative will encourage people to visit Barbados for longer periods of time. Their economy relies heavily on tourism, which is an industry that has been absolutely demolished by this pandemic. If you're thinking that escaping this pandemic and living and working from an island paradise sounds pretty good so far, you may be wondering who can apply for this Barbados Welcome Stamp and what the process is like. The visa is available for anyone who is working remotely, whether that's for an employer, as a freelancer, or as a business owner, assuming that business is not registered in Barbados. If you have a spouse or children, they're allowed to come with you and they do not need to be working remotely. They do ask that applicants confirm they will expect to earn about $50,000 or more over the next year. Although this appears to be a pretty relaxed requirement, and as long as you can prove, if you were asked, that you have the bank funds to support yourself while you're living there, it should not be a problem. The entire application is done electronically, and if you have your documents ready to go, it should not take you more than 10 minutes. It's pretty straightforward. You will need to provide a 2x2-inch passport photo and a copy of your passport page. If you are traveling with family members, you'll need to provide this passport photo and passport page for them as well as proof of your relationship with the family members you mentioned, like your spouse or children. Once submitted, your application will be either approved or denied within 5 working days. You must travel to Barbados within 12 months of your application approval, and then the 12 months that you can stay in Barbados will start on your day of arrival. During that 12-month period, you will be allowed to come and go as you please from the country. Something else to note is that valid medical insurance is a prerequisite to having your application approved. I highly recommend that you check out Safety Wing because they not only cover Barbados, but they can also provide you coverage for the entire year that you will be staying there. Furthermore, their travel insurance is one of the cheapest on the market, with COVID coverage at only $40 a month. I'll leave the information to them in the description below. Once your medical insurance is set and your application has been approved, there is one more thing you need to do before you actually arrive in Barbados. This is to get a negative, hopefully, COVID test. If you're coming from a low-risk country, you can take this test up to 7 days before you arrive in Barbados. And if you're coming from a higher-risk country, like the US, then you will need to do it within 3 days of arriving. If you arrive in Barbados and you do not have the test results to show, you will have to take a COVID test on arrival. While the test is processing, you will also need to quarantine at your own cost, and this could be up to 48 hours. Something that you don't need to worry about before you arrive in Barbados is having proof of onward travel. This means that you can arrive with a one-way ticket and maintain absolute flexibility as to when you leave, when you fly out, and where you fly to next. The fee for an individual to obtain the Barbados Welcome Stamp 12-month visa is $2,000 US. If you are applying as a family, the total cost is $3,000 US for all of you that are considered a family. While it's not cheap, it's definitely reasonable, and you will not be needing to pay any Barbados income tax. Of course, there are other costs for you to consider, such as the travel insurance, the cost of a flight to get there, as well as the cost to actually live in Barbados for a year. Now, the cost of living is not cheap. Barbados is one of the wealthiest countries in the Caribbean, which definitely supports their infrastructure and their road conditions, but also means that living there is going to cost you a little bit. It's 12.5% higher than US prices. As you're going through this list, you'll notice that BDS is on a 1:2 ratio to USD. Vacation rental sites like VRBO and Airbnb had prices that were pretty high, with around $100 a night minimum. But on local sites like Barbados Property Search, you could find apartments and small homes for 2,000 BDS or about 1,000 USD. Prices for nice 1, 2, and 3 bedroom places seem reasonable to find for around 1,000 to 1,500 USD per month. Bear in mind that staying long term is going to be much cheaper than if you were going on a week-long holiday to Barbados. By staying there for a longer period of time and avoiding the tourist activities, you can end up buying your groceries instead of going to restaurants or enjoying the nightlife, and then having these longer stay options is going to give you a more favorable rate per night than if you were staying at a hotel short term. If you're currently in North America or Europe paying high prices to live in your home country, it may be worth looking into Barbados. While it's not a traditional remote work location, the options at this point are pretty limited, and it may be worth taking a second look. Here's a few reasons why. I'll kick things off with the obvious. It's a warm, sunny island paradise. Normally I wouldn't need to give more incentive than this, but since you're working and not on a vacation, I understand that there are certain prerequisites that a place has to have in order for it to be feasible to work from. Barbados is a small island off the coast of Venezuela. The location means that the time zone is actually quite favorable to support communications with coworkers and employer or clients that are based in North America or in Europe. It's on Atlantic Standard Time, which is currently the same as Eastern Standard Time, but will be off by an hour soon as they don't observe daylight savings. While for some remote workers, it really doesn't matter, but for many of us, time zone is something that you need to consider. Something else you may be wondering about is the internet. This is absolutely essential for anyone that works remotely and intends to remain at least a little bit productive while they are living somewhere else. Barbados self-identifies as having the fastest and most reliable internet in the Caribbean, which might not be saying much considering the Caribbean does not have a great reputation for reliable Wi-Fi. According to speedtest.com, which I usually find quite reliable in regards to Wi-Fi around the world, this actually does seem to be the case. I additionally went on TripAdvisor, Google Reviews, Reddit, and other forums to see what travelers are saying about the Wi-Fi over the past year, and it does appear to be quite fast and quite reliable. Finally, I'd also like to touch on any health and safety concerns. When it comes to COVID, Barbados was seen as being a leader in actually containing the virus on the island. As of September 1st, Barbados has reported a total of 175 COVID cases and only 7 deaths. This is pretty miraculous for an island with 300,000 people that is only the size of a little smaller than Chicago at about 21 times 14 miles squared. And if something were to happen to you, COVID related or otherwise, you definitely want to check out the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, which is the island's primary acute care medical facility. It's pretty fancy looking. In regards to safety, for most travelers, Barbados is considered to be a pretty safe country. Of course, you do have to be on the lookout, like with any tourist destination, for petty crime and theft. Homosexuality is illegal in Barbados, and in 2019, Barbados was considered to be one of the most dangerous countries for homosexual travelers. On the flip side, Barbados does have its own gay community and has held an annual Pride Parade since 2018. I do have a couple concerns that you may want to think about before applying for the visa for yourself. One of these would be that they say you can come and go as you please from the island. So while the visa may allow you to do so, the thing is that the pandemic may not. We all know that things can change very fast, and you never know when flights are going to be grounded or when new restrictions are going to be placed on what countries you can enter and can't enter, meaning that you could be in Barbados and all of a sudden have very limited options of where else you can travel to. Another concern to consider is that if there is an outbreak on the island and all the flights are grounded, your only option is honestly to ride the situation out in Barbados. If there is an outbreak, hospitals may become overtaxed, so even if you're not concerned about the virus itself, if something else were to happen to you, like say you had an appendicitis or an allergy attack, you may not be able to get into the hospitals due to the amount of people that are there thanks to COVID. Overall, the more that I look into this visa, the more I consider it to be a very valid option, especially for anyone that is not currently locked into a lease and is looking for somewhere to get away over the winter. With most jobs online and many schools also going online, this could be an opportunity to take what is an awful global situation and turn it into an educational, fun, family adventure. Let me know if it's something that you would consider doing in 2020. I'd also like to mention that another Caribbean island, Bermuda, will also be offering a similar 12-month visa. Estonia is another country that is offering this type of visa for remote workers. It's actually quite smart for governments to consider this from an economic standpoint because it is people that are living and spending in their country while earning dollars from a foreign country. So they're not taking away jobs from the locals, they are literally just growing the economy. So I wouldn't be surprised to see more countries jumping on board and following along. Let us know in the comments where you would like to see this type of visa launched. Personally, I would love to see it in Thailand or Sri Lanka. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and also know that all of the sources cited as well as any resources will be linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.